This is now the second video in a two-part series dealing with the sensitive topic of judging others. And here's what you can expect in this video. Number one, why being judged by others ultimately is a good thing for our own personal growth. And number two, why the three favorite words of the narcissist and manipulator are "don't judge me." But first, do you know the crucial difference between judging versus being judgmental? Here's the thing. All decision making ultimately boils down to judging other people, judging their abilities, their character, their behavior, their speech. Judging is simply the act of discernment, of trying to make wise choices and decisions. But being judgmental is completely different. Being judgmental is when we're no longer seeking what is true, what is right, what is best, but instead we're only trying to elevate our own egos. It's when we're overly harsh and critical of someone or some group so that we can just feel smug, so that we can feel morally superior to everyone else. So with that important distinction made, let's begin with why being judged by others can actually be a good thing for our own personal growth. Now, by today's way of thinking, that's completely counterintuitive. To be judged, to be criticized, to be called out, to be rebuked is allegedly the most horrific thing to ever happen to a person. And so there are so many people in our culture today who walk around with their fingers in their ears, yelling, "My truth, my lived experience," making it all but impossible for them to hear any life-giving criticism. But here's the thing, none of us are perfect. We all have blind spots, right? We all, to a certain degree, walk around with blinders on, which prevent us from seeing certain things about ourselves that others plainly see. And so it's just common sense that if someone brings something to our attention about us that we need to change, even if they're wrong, even if they're being judgmental, it's just common sense to stop and think, well, maybe they have a point. Maybe there's something about me that I need to change. Now, if you've ever read the book of Proverbs, one of the main wisdom books of the Old Testament, then you will know that it speaks loudly of this one uncomfortable truth, that if you want to become wise, if you want to become a better person, if you want to have better character, then you must be willing to have your beliefs, your behaviors challenged, judged, and even rebuked. Proverbs 17:10 says, "A rebuke impresses a discerning person more than 100 lashes a fool." According to Proverbs, this is one of the big distinctions between the wise and the foolish. Point out the flaws of a wise person, and they will see that as an opportunity to grow and to become even wiser. Whereas even if you were to beat a fool 100 times, they'll still walk off the cliff. And this is what I find so disturbing about our current cultural situation. Because of this "don't judge me" philosophy, people are immune to any outside criticism. It's as though as a culture we walk around with surrounded by a force field. And it prevents us, of course, from developing our character, from becoming better people. And that, my friends, is the very definition of a fool, according to Proverbs. We as a culture have become the fools spoken of in Proverbs 17:10. It seems that it doesn't matter how many times reality slaps us across the face, we just don't listen. So point number two, why the three favorite words of the narcissist and manipulator are "don't judge me." Now, I should warn you that once you see this, you can't unsee it. Because of the collective hallucination of our culture today concerning judging, that somehow all judging is just not bad, it's just not wrong, it's downright evil. Because of this, there are many bad actors who are exploiting it. And they're not even trying to disguise it. They're like thieves who rob a store in broad daylight with all kinds of bystanders around who pretend not to see anything. It's the perfect crime. Catch a manipulator in the act, and all they have to do is accuse you of judging them, and everyone else around will side with them. Now, as I pointed out in the first video, part 1, how many misinterpret Matthew 7:1, where Christ famously said, "Do not judge lest you be judged." They misinterpret that to mean that somehow Christ commanded his followers to suspend all moral discernment. Well, Christ, he constantly judged other people. He judged other people's behavior, their speech, their motives. Just think of the 7 woes found in Matthew 23. What's more is that Christ commanded his followers to judge others also. So why would Christ command that? Well, in Matthew 7:15, he warned of those who were wolves in sheep's clothing, those who will hide behind the facade of virtue only to exploit other people, generally the most vulnerable. And so if they look just like the sheep, how can we spot them? Well, in the next verse, Christ said, "You will recognize them by their fruit." In other words, by judging their lives, by judging their behavior, the way they live. That's how you're going to spot them. Because while words may deceive, fruit doesn't lie. So remember, the next time someone tries weaponizing judging, the next time someone tries turning the tables around to avoid accountability, to avoid being exposed, don't be fooled. Judging in the truest sense of the word is simply acting with discernment. And by acting with discernment, not only will we protect ourselves from the wolves, but we will also protect the most vulnerable in the flock. If you haven't watched part 1, it's right over there. Please subscribe and dare to be wise.